For decades, one question has puzzled historians and world leaders alike. How did the United States and Iran go from trusted allies to bitter rivals? Today, their relationship is defined by sanctions, military threats, nuclear disputes, and decades of political hostility. But this wasn't always the case. There was a time when American leaders viewed Iran as one of their most important partners in the Middle East. Billions of dollars flowed into the country. American companies invested in its future. And the two nations stood side by side during the Cold War. Everything pointed toward a lasting alliance. So what changed? Was it religion? Was it oil? Or was it a secret operation that forever altered the course of history? To answer those questions, we must travel back to the early years of the Cold War, when the friendship between these two nations first began, and when the seeds of future conflict were quietly planted. After the Second World War, the world was divided into two powerful camps. On one side stood the United States and its allies. On the other was the Soviet Union. Every country suddenly became important in this global struggle, and Iran was no exception. Located between East and West, with vast oil reserves and a long border near Soviet territory, Iran became one of the most strategic countries on Earth. Washington believed that if Iran fell under Soviet influence, the balance of power in the Middle East could change forever. At the center of this partnership stood Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi. With strong American support, he launched ambitious modernization programs, expanded Iran's military, and encouraged closer economic ties with the West. During the 1960s and early 1970s, Iran appeared to be one of America's greatest success stories in the region. But beneath this image of progress, a growing sense of anger was beginning to spread among ordinary Iranians. To understand that anger, we have to go back even further, to the year 1953. Iran had a democratically elected prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh. He believed that Iran's vast oil wealth should benefit the Iranian people rather than foreign companies. For decades, British interests had controlled much of Iran's oil industry, earning enormous profits, while many Iranians struggled with poverty. When Mossadegh nationalized the oil industry, he became a hero to many citizens. However, Britain saw this as a major threat to its economic interests. At the same time, American officials feared that political instability might allow the Soviet Union to gain influence in Iran. Those concerns led to a covert mission that would change history forever. The CIA, working alongside British intelligence, helped organize Operation Ajax, a secret operation that removed Mossadegh from power and restored the Shah's authority. Although the operation achieved its short-term goals, it left behind deep resentment that would shape Iran's future for generations. With the Shah firmly back in power, Iran entered a period of rapid modernization. Oil revenues increased dramatically, allowing the government to build highways, airports, factories, universities, and modern cities. Tehran became one of the fastest-growing capitals in the Middle East. Western fashion, music, and technology became increasingly common, giving many outsiders the impression that Iran was becoming a modern and prosperous nation. Yet this transformation came at a cost. Many Iranians believed that the country's wealth was concentrated in the hands of a small elite, while ordinary families struggled with rising inequality. Political opposition was also tightly controlled, and critics of the government often faced arrest through the Shah's powerful security organization, Savak. As frustration spread among students, religious leaders, and workers, the gap between the government and the people grew wider every year. Few realized that this growing discontent was about to explode into one of the most significant revolutions of the 20th century. By late 1978, protests were spreading across cities throughout Iran. What began as small demonstrations quickly grew into a nationwide movement. Millions of Iranians took to the streets, demanding that Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi step down. Many believed his government had become corrupt, authoritarian, and increasingly disconnected from the country's religious and cultural identity. The most influential voice behind the revolution was Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini. Although he had spent years in exile, his speeches were secretly recorded on cassette tapes and distributed across Iran, inspiring millions. In January 1979, the Shah left the country, ending decades of royal rule. Just weeks later, Khomeini returned to Tehran, where he was welcomed by enormous crowds. The monarchy collapsed and the Islamic Republic of Iran was born. But this revolution did more than transform Iran. It permanently changed its relationship with the United States. Only months after the revolution, an event shocked the entire world. On November 4, 1979, a group of Iranian students stormed the United States Embassy in Tehran. They demanded that America return the Shah to Iran to face trial. Instead, the situation escalated dramatically. 52 American diplomats and citizens were taken hostage. What many expected to last only a few days turned into a crisis that continued for 444 days. Every night, Americans watched updates on television as the hostage crisis dominated national headlines. For the United States, it became a symbol of humiliation and a major foreign policy disaster. Diplomatic relations between the two countries collapsed, economic sanctions followed, and decades of deep mistrust officially began. As tensions with the United States continued to rise, another major conflict erupted. In September 1980, Iraqi leader Saddam Hussein launched a full-scale invasion of Iran. Believing that the newly established Islamic Republic was weak and divided, he expected a quick victory. Instead, the war dragged on for 8 devastating years. Millions of soldiers and civilians were killed or injured, while both countries suffered enormous economic losses. Although the United States did not officially enter the war, it provided various forms of political and intelligence support to Iraq at different stages of the conflict. From Iran's perspective, this reinforced the belief that Western powers were determined to weaken the new government. By the end of the war, any remaining trust between Washington and Tehran had virtually disappeared. During the 1990s and early 2000s, a new source of tension emerged: Iran's nuclear program. Iranian leaders insisted that the program was designed for peaceful purposes, including electricity generation and scientific research. However, the United States and several of its allies feared that the technology could eventually be used to develop nuclear weapons. As a result, increasingly severe economic sanctions were imposed on Iran. Its banking system, oil exports, and international trade faced unprecedented restrictions. Yet Iran continued developing many aspects of its nuclear program. At the same time, cyber attacks, covert operations, and proxy conflicts across the Middle East further intensified the rivalry. What had once been a friendship had now evolved into one of the most complex and enduring geopolitical conflicts in modern history. Despite decades of hostility, the story between the United States and Iran is still unfolding. In 2015, after years of negotiations, Iran and several world powers reached a landmark nuclear agreement known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA. Under the deal, Iran agreed to limit parts of its nuclear program in exchange for relief from international sanctions. Many hoped this would mark the beginning of a new chapter. However, the agreement soon faced political challenges. In 2018, the United States withdrew from the deal and reimposed economic sanctions on Iran. In response, Iran gradually reduced its commitments under the agreement, and tensions once again began to rise. The possibility of improved relations became more uncertain than ever. Today, the rivalry between the United States and Iran extends far beyond diplomacy. It influences conflicts across the Middle East, affects global energy markets, and shapes the foreign policies of many nations. The two countries continue to disagree on issues ranging from regional security to military influence and nuclear development. While there have been moments of dialogue and negotiation, periods of heightened tension have often followed. As a result, the relationship remains one of the most closely watched in international politics. Decisions made in Washington and Tehran can have consequences that reach far beyond their own borders, influencing economies, alliances, and security around the world. Looking back, it becomes clear that this rivalry was not caused by a single event. It was shaped by decades of political decisions, revolutions, wars, diplomatic crises, and deep mutual distrust. The 1953 coup, the Islamic Revolution, the hostage crisis, the Iran-Iraq War, and the long-running dispute over Iran's nuclear program all became turning points in a relationship that once seemed unbreakable. History reminds us that international alliances can change dramatically over time. Yesterday's allies can become today's rivals, and today's rivals may one day find a path back to dialogue. Understanding the past is essential if we hope to understand the future. More than 70 years after their partnership began, the relationship between the United States and Iran remains one of the most influential and complex rivalries in modern history. Whether the future brings renewed diplomacy or continued confrontation is a question that only time can answer. But one thing is certain: the events that transform two allies into bitter rivals continue to shape the Middle East and influence global politics to this day. History is more than a collection of dates and events. It explains why the world looks the way it does today. If you enjoyed this documentary and want to explore more untold stories from history, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Histora, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey into the past. Because every chapter of history has a story worth discovering.